Voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is he? What's he doing
They
there?
already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a Cyprus tan.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
So we'll be going to Prime Minister's question shortly. I wonder what Kemi Baynott, in my view, actually optimism is an open goal. I think we'll go for the right issue. I think the doctor strike.
Yep.
Do you regret giving them 23% last year because they now want 29%? Do you remember the train drivers got a bumper pay rise, 15%? They were back on strike within about 6 weeks. And also, of course, a French state visit, which we know from the inbox, Bev, has infuriated people who watch this programme and listen to this programme, because he's taken the Michael.
And also, it depends whether she makes anything out of these changes potentially to the judicial system. A bit difficult because
they'll say
it was under their watch.
You presided over a system which left 77,000 court cases. But you saw not Robert Jenrick, who did we have? Robert Butler, former Tory Justice
Although
Secretary.
Robert Jenrick is everywhere. It's surprising we didn't have him. He seems to pop up everywhere at the moment, doesn't he?
Really. Yeah, but he's
Robert Butler was very good, I thought.
He's the unofficial leader of the opposition, isn't he?
He is, really. Let's just see what you've been saying at home. The right to a jury trial is set in the Magna Carta to end it to interfere with the liberty of the subject. Worse, do we trust the judges to act impartially? No.
And
as the case of so-called rioters revealed.
Magna Carta was signed in 1215. That's 810 years ago. So that's what this government is potentially thinking of doing.
And if you think...
Ending 810 years of tradition. Our judiciary is the basis for many others in the rest of the world.
And if you think about cases like Lucy Connolly, who went to jail for 33 months for a spicy tweet which she deleted. Imagine that sort of power, because that, for me, was a political judgment.
I don't think it was a jury case, was it?
No.
It was a magistrate's
And
court.
that's the point. So that sort of power in the hands of individuals, especially under this government, I find deeply worrying.
I remember from my local paper days, you could see the pompous magistrate flexing their muscles as they delivered a withering speech, which they would get covered in the local paper, as it was, as they threw the book at people. Jurors represent ordinary people. They represent us in the courtroom against the judges in their wigs and the lawyers, the clever clogs lawyers in their wigs. They're the voice of common sense.
When I did jury service, I've done it a couple of times now, but that was my overriding takeout from the experience was what a remarkable country that me and 11 other nobodies could sit there and decide.
Yeah, and a judge can even direct a jury, but you don't have to take any notice.
Let's go spin, please.
We're going.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Monday, we mark the 20th anniversary of the despicable terrorist attacks on 7/7. The painful memories of that dark day are deeply ingrained. 52 people were murdered, many more were injured. we thank our emergency services who ran towards danger with true bravery, and send our deepest condolences to the victims, the survivors and bereaved, and all those forever affected by that appalling day. May I also extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Lord Tebbit. We remember his profound courage in the face of terrorism and a fierce devotion to his wife, Margaret. May he rest in peace. Mr. Speaker, we also mark the 30th anniversary of the genocide at Srebrenica. We remember those lost and redouble our efforts to fight hatred and intolerance wherever it exists. Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to welcome President Macron to the United Kingdom. Our relationship has never been stronger, and we're focused on tough new tactics to tackle illegal migration, major economic investment to create jobs, and leading our allies to support Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks? At a recent coffee morning, residents in Southampton Itchen told me how much they still miss the Bitton NHS walk-in centre that was shut down a decade ago under the Conservatives. So can I begin by welcoming this government's 10-year plan and its commitment to neighbourhood health services? And as we put this plan for change into action for my local residents, does the Prime Minister agree that Bitton is an excellent location for the first new neighbourhood health centre?
I pay tribute to him for making the case for his constituents, and I know the Health Secretary will give it every consideration. Mr. Speaker, the 10-year plan will establish neighbourhood health centres in every community, and that'll make a massive difference, starting in the places where the need is greatest and life expectancy at its lowest. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that we promised 2 million extra NHS appointments in the first year of a Labour government, and we've now delivered £4 million. We shouldn't forget that the record investment that made that possible in the budget was opposed by all the parties opposite.
Leader of the opposition, coming back.
Mr. Speaker, can I echo the Prime Minister's sentiments about the horrific terrorist attack of July the 7th? I was pleased to be at the commemoration service on Monday, and in particular our thoughts are with the families of those who lost their lives, those who had to go on without their loved ones. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to pay tribute to Lord Tebbit, who died yesterday at the age of 94. He was a man of iron integrity and conviction, who by his efforts helped to save our country from the chaos of the 1970s. We all owe him so much. Mr. Speaker, in their manifesto last year, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it is rare. It is rare, yes. It is rare that he's able to give a clear answer, but I'm glad that he has done so, because he also promised, in fact, he boasted that he solved the doctor's strike, but only the Prime Minister, who was so weak and giving 28% pay rise to doctors, only now we see that they're still voting to strike again. He folds in every negotiation and claims that it is a triumph. Yes, he does. And we saw at the budget, Mr. Speaker, more promises. The Chancellor promised that she would lift the freeze on income tax and national insurance thresholds, because in her words, they hurt working people. Is that still government policy?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, no Prime Minister or Chancellor is going to write a budget in advance. We are absolutely fixed on our fiscal rules. We remain committed to them. We remain committed to our budget, to our manifesto commitments. I realise that sticking to your fiscal rules and your manifesto commitments is a bit unfamiliar to the party opposite, but it's because of the decisions the Chancellor took, that this government has taken, that we can update the House. £120 billion of inward investment into this country since we took office. business confidence at a 9-year high. That's longer than the Leader Opposition has been in Parliament. Deloitte this week saying the UK is now the best place to invest, creating 384,000 jobs. What a contrast to the mess that we inherited from the party opposite.
Mr. Speaker, there was no clear answer there. The whole House would have heard him fail to rule out freezing tax thresholds. He could say it in the first question, he could promise, but he couldn't this time round. But what does this mean, Mr. Speaker? He's talking about record investment and more jobs. We know that people are losing their jobs. Unemployment has gone up under Labour every single month since it's their year in office. But what does it mean on this issue of tax thresholds? It means that under Labour, millions of our poorest pensioners face being dragged into income tax for the first time ever. Does the Prime Minister think it is right that struggling pensioners should face a retirement tax?
Mr. Speaker, for a Prime Minister or Chancellor to say we're not going to write a budget in advance isn't a Labour thing or a Tory thing. Every single Prime Minister and Chancellor says they won't. We will stick to our manifesto commitments. We will stick to our fiscal rules. This is a language they don't understand, which is why I have to... That's what got us into the problem in the first place. And whilst she comes here every week to talk the country down, that investment, record investment, £120 billion, that will be good, well-paid jobs across the country. And this investment, Mr. Speaker, is foreign investors who can choose whether to invest in this country. They're choosing to invest in this country now because they have confidence in what this government is doing.
Mr. Speaker, investors are fleeing the country. They're fleeing the country. He says he sticks to his manifesto promises. They promised not to put a tax on working people, and then we got the jobs tax. And all we have seen is jobs disappearing. Before the election, the Prime Minister promised, and I quote, "not a penny more on your council tax." The Institute for Fiscal Studies says that now council tax bills will rise at their fastest rate in 20 years. Will the Prime Minister admit that under him council tax is set to soar?
Minister. No, of course it's not. It soared under the last government. But, Mr. Speaker, here she goes again, back on familiar territory. She comes here complaining about the national insurance rise every year, every week. She comes here complaining about it. And then when she's asked the question, well, would you have the courage then to reverse it? What's the answer? What's the answer? No! And I'll tell you for why. Because she's too embarrassed to say she doesn't want the investment we put in. That investment went to the NHS. They want the investment, they can't say how they're going to pay for it. That is what got us into the problem in the first place.
Mr. Speaker, he still doesn't understand, so I'm going to make it very simple for him. This is a mess of his own making. He shouldn't be asking how we would clean it up. The fact is, they raise national insurance through the jobs tax, and that's why they have to put up council tax. The truth is, his catastrophic budget has created a domino effect which he cannot now control. We on this side of the House know that you cannot tax your way to growth. But now he's flirting. They're all muttering, I remember that budget. They were laughing and cheering. They had no idea the mess that they were creating. They should go and explain to their constituents about why unemployment is going up. But, Mr. Speaker, what is more worrying is that now he's flirting with Neil Kinnock's demand for a wealth tax. Let's be honest about what that means. This is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Mr. Speaker says we shouldn't be asking them for advice on the economy. She's absolutely right about that. We will not be asking for their advice. What we did in the budget was stabilise the economy through the measures taken by the Chancellor. And what has that led to? 4 interest rate cuts. For mortgage holders, that's hugely important. Compare and contrast what happened to the Liz Truss mini-budget. The fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. Wages up more in the first 10 months of a Labour government than the 10 years under the Tories. So no, we don't need lessons from them.
Mr. Speaker, he says he stabilised the economy. Has he spoken to any farmers recently? Yes. It is time for him to take responsibility for the mess he is making. He has been in office for a year, and all we see is him congratulating himself on what a fantastic job that he has done. Nobody out there believes it. No, not even them. Not even them. What a weak chair. Mr. Speaker, he's congratulating himself. We can compare records. He talks about the fastest growing economy. We left him the fastest growing economy of the G7. We cut the deficit in every year until the pandemic. We got inflation down to 2%. Yeah. On his watch, taxes are up. Unemployment is up. Inflation is up. And this weak Prime Minister has been forced into a series of chaotic U-turns. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the OBR said that our economy is being eroded under Labour. Yeah. Doctor strikes, tax bombshells, the wealthy leaving in droves. Yeah. Isn't the truth that under him he is dragging us back to the 1970s?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, responsibility. We're responsible for 4 million extra appointments in the NHS. We're responsible for a 10-year plan on the future of the NHS after they broke it. We're also responsible for free school meals being rolled out in a way which has never been done by any government. Breakfast clubs being rolled out, family hubs being rolled out, transport across the country, and migration coming down. We take responsibility and we're proud of that.
Lord Hatton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Eden project in Cornwall is a proven success story, injecting millions into the local economy, and in Lancashire, Eden Morecambe will soon be under construction, set to create hundreds of jobs. So, it's about time we had the third instalment with Memo Portland, or Eden Portland, as many like to call it. This will be a world-class attraction, celebrating the Jurassic Coast and transforming the economy in South Dorset. So will the Prime Minister back this exciting project and work with me and all of the relevant ministers to secure funding to deliver this project? And ideally, can we use the new Growth Mission Fund?
Well, look, I thank him for highlighting this exciting proposal, and he's a fantastic advocate for Portland and South Dorset. The Eden Portland is a hugely exciting project. I can't confirm funding allocations yet, Mr. Speaker, but our £240 million Growth Mission Fund should support transformative projects that give local leaders real investment to deliver real change. And I know he makes a compelling case in relation to the fund that's been set out.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself and my party with the Prime Minister's comments about the horrifying terrorist bombings of 7/7 here in London? Our thoughts are with the victims, their families, and our amazing emergency services. And can I also join in the condolences to the family of Lord Tebbit? He was a man of service in the RAF, in politics, and as a carer for his wife, Margaret. He will be greatly missed. Mr. Speaker, after years of Conservative neglect, the special education needs system is in desperate need of repairs. But with parents understandably worried, we already hear Labour MPs planning another rebellion. So can I offer the Prime Minister this? If he genuinely wants to fix the problem and not strip away the rights of children and parents in some cost-cutting exercise, then we have 72 votes to help. Will the Prime Minister look at the 5 tests for SEND reform we have published today and work with us to make it happen?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's telling that when he raises the question of the broken SEND system, they laugh at the back of the Tory boxes. They laugh. That's how seriously they take their responsibility. Absolute shame. But as he knows, every week across the House, people raise this issue with me. I think it's been raised more times than anything else. And everyone knows the system is broken. And again, guess who broke it along with everything else? It doesn't work for parents, and it lets down children. So we do need to reform and change it. That's not about saving money. We've already invested an additional £1 billion into SEND. But it is about creating a new system that truly supports every child. And we're developing proposals. We want to work with parents and teachers to get this right, and I would expect him to welcome that.
Sir Ed Davey.
Well, I thank the Prime Minister for his reply. We want to work across the House to fix the mess that Lay live. We don't want another welfare-style mess this time. We've got to fix this properly for parents and children. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative government badly undermined the security of our borders by ripping up the returns agreement that allowed us to send migrants back to Europe. So I hope the Prime Minister can secure a new returns agreement with France that acts as a real deterrent to stop the votes. And the Conservatives also sent hundreds of millions of pounds to France and got nothing in return. Does the Prime Minister agree that any new funding to the French government must be conditional on them agreeing a returns deal and doing their bit to stop the votes?
Mr. Speaker, we're working closely with the French on this issue. We'll only provide funding that delivers for our priorities. We are working closely. We share information to a much greater extent than was the case before. We've got a new specialist intelligence unit at Dunkirk, and we're the first government to persuade the French to review their laws and tactics on the North Coast to take more effective action. I'll be discussing this at meetings with President Macron both today and tomorrow.
Don Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of recent events, could the Prime Minister update the House on the work of the COVID Corruption Commissioner? And does he agree with my constituents in Rugby, Bulkington and the surrounding villages that there should be no place in public life for people who exploited the pandemic and defrauded the taxpayer to line their own pockets?
My honourable friend makes a powerful point, and I hope it was heard on the benches opposite. It's an absolute scandal that failed PPE contracts were handed out by the Conservatives at taxpayer funds of £1.4 billion. We're focused on getting our money back. I can confirm the Commissioner is now investigating fraud involving bounce back and business support loans, and we will continue to go after the fraudsters, the drifters and the con artists, no matter who they are or where we find them.
Nigel Farage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The main reason this country decided into some of you want to get in a little late. If this takes forever, you won't get in. Nigel Farage. Thank you. The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country. Does the Prime Minister understand that that demand today is even greater than it was back in 2016, and that we demand, the country demands, that you say to the French President, will you shut up?
Don't be so disrespectful.
You say to the French President, we will not accept undocumented males across the English Channel, and that you are not dictated to by an increasingly arrogant, anti-Brexit French President.
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the mess that we inherited. We are working with other countries to ensure that we take the measures necessary to stop people crossing the Channel. They are serious answers to serious problems. His proposal for 10 years, wagging the Tory dog, has been to break everything and claim that's how you fix things, to stick two fingers up at your neighbours and then expect them to work with us. And he votes against the Borders Bill, which gives more powers to our law enforcement to deal with security at our borders. And Mr. Speaker, the reason for that is he has no interest in fixing the problem because he wants to milk it and exploit it. That's the truth about him and his party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From homelessness to child poverty, so many of the challenges that I see people face
in Exeter can be traced back to early years. Can I welcome how this government is rebuilding on the legacy of Sure Start, so cruelly dismantled by the party opposite? And can the Prime Minister set out what difference this will make to family services in Exeter?
Well, I'm grateful to him. I've discussed it with him before. He's a brilliant champion for Exeter. Mr. Speaker, every child should have support to realise their potential. And the party opposite tore up Sure Start and took it out of our communities, an act, in my view, of vandalism that abandoned families and deepened inequalities. Mr. Speaker, we're delivering 1,000 Best Start family hubs across the country. That's in addition to free childcare being rolled out and expanding free school meals. That's the change the Labour government makes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Growing numbers of people are joining calls for a wealth tax on the super rich, including former Labour leader Lord Kinnock, and today a former First Minister of Wales, and it transpires the Chancellor herself when she was in opposition. So will the Prime Minister stand by his promise that those with the broadest shoulders should carry the largest burden? And can he clarify that that means the ultra-wealthy, not disabled people, the poorest, and children with special educational needs?
Mr. Speaker, I'm really not going to take advice from a party that put forward £80 billion of unfunded commitments at the last election. That's the sort of thing that got us into the problem in the first place. Mr. Speaker, we can't just tax our way to growth. We need to ensure that we put in place the necessary measures. We're putting in place planning reforms, Mr. Speaker, to drive growth. He voted against it and they voted against it.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud that this Labour government is banning fire and rehire. I am proud that we are addressing the abusive use of zero-hour contracts and improving protections at work, particularly against unfair dismissal. Reform and their Tory friends voted against Labour's workplace protections. I don't know why they're heckling. When they were in government, they promised to deal with fire and rehire, and after, and despite the scandal at P&O, did absolutely nothing about it. So, does my right honourable friend agree that it is only this Labour government which will ensure people have fairness at work in this country?
Well, I'm proud that we'll give 15 million workers, that's half of all workers, stronger rights at work. Mr. Speaker, that's sick pay for up to 1.3 million of the lowest paid, tackling sexual harassment and bereavement leave for families who experience pregnancy loss before 24 weeks. Compare that to the Leader of the Opposition who thinks maternity pay is excessive. The Leader of Reform who wants working people to pay tax for tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Both of them vote against reform and better protection of workers at every term. They always have and they always will. They offer nothing for working people.
Sir David Davis.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, before my question, can I tell the House that in the public gallery today there are a number of veterans of Northern Ireland? Given what the Prime Minister said about 7/7, I'd like to publicly thank them for their courage in defending our country and our democracy against the first scourge of terrorism. Now, the Prime Minister knows that every time a paramilitary was killed in Northern Ireland by a British soldier, it triggered a thorough investigation. No bullet went unscrutinised. Our soldiers were held to the highest standards of law. The IRA were not. They tortured and shot men in the back. They forced families to watch their menfolk murdered. They killed women and children with bombs. Yet we're willing to prosecute our own men. Men forced to make life and death decisions in split seconds. If the government get the legacy legislation wrong, at least 50 innocent retired veterans will be exposed to legal persecution for crimes they did not commit. Now, I've raised this matter 6 times now since February. So I ask again, on Monday, when we debate this matter in Westminster Hall, will his government protect our veterans, or will it sacrifice them to politically motivated lawyers trying to rewrite history with a pack of lies?
Can I join in his thanks to the veterans here today with us and to all veterans? And I mean, he knows this is a serious issue, and the outing of his at the end of his question didn't really reflect that seriousness, because the scheme that was set up by the party opposite was found to be unlawful in the courts, and he knows it. And it wasn't supported by the communities. It would have meant, as he knows, immunity from prosecution for those who committed the most appalling terrorist crimes. And that's why it didn't have support in the communities and didn't have the support, I think, of any political party in Northern Ireland. And that was amongst the reason it was found to be unlawful. So we have to tread carefully. We have to get this right. And I'll work with him on that, but we don't get there by cheapening the debate. We will look at the address. It's not about political point scoring. I worked in Northern Ireland. I've spoken to many of the people affected, and I know we must get this right, and I want to do so, and I want the House to do it together if we possibly can, because it matters. But we have to do that in a serious way, to address the issues of the past, of course, in a way that has support of victims and survivors. And that is a key test for me, because without the support of victims and survivors, I think it's very hard in Northern Ireland to come up with something which will have the confidence of everybody in Northern Ireland, which is why we have to work in the way we do. In advance of the new legislation, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland continues to engage with veterans and their communities to ensure that legacy mechanisms are fair, that they're lawful and they're proportionate. And I'll continue to work with him and others in the House, because the most important thing is not scoring points but getting it right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week I published a report which revealed the terrible legacy left by the party opposite on the NHS locally. It's in Basingstoke waiting 210 days following a referral for access to mental health services, 3 times the national average. So I welcome the publication of the 10-year plan last week, led by the Prime Minister, to be delivered by a Labour Health Secretary, made possible by a Labour Chancellor. But can I ask the Prime Minister what more the government is able to do to close that gap in mental health services locally and ensure that every kid in Basingstoke has access to the very best mental health services?
Well, I thank him for that. The party opposite failed to give children the support that they need. The 10-year plan we put forward will rewire our NHS and transform mental health services. 85 dedicated mental health A&E departments giving 24/7 support, specialist mental health professionals in every school and college, benefiting 1 million young people this year alone, and an extra 8,500 mental health staff to tackle long waits. And that is only because of the decisions that we took to invest in our NHS, decisions that they opposed.
Jess Brown-Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to add to the many calls that this Prime Minister has already heard about the broken SEND system. I met with head teachers and SENCOs in my constituency of Chichester last week. They all told me the same thing, that the SEND system is broken, it's adversarial, parents are at breaking point, there are not enough spaces in specialist schools, and the EHCP process is long, it's harrowing, and it's often degrading. Now, I know the government are exploring their options, but will he take the Liberal Democrat calls to introduce a national body for SEND so that we can end the postcode lottery and fix this problem for good?
Well, I thank her for raising this issue, and I know it's of concern to her and to many people across the House. The system we've got is broken. It's not serving anyone well. We've got to reform it. And I set out in an earlier answer the steps that we are taking. We will share those with the House, and I hope that we can get the greatest support possible for the reform that I think everybody here knows has to happen.
Catherine Fuchs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm delighted at the spending review commitment of £445 million for Welsh Rail. A new station at Meigran-Undy will take cars off the congested M4, offer greener journeys and open doors for local residents without a vehicle to get jobs. And it's great value for money due to the track and infrastructure that's already in place there. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Meigran-Undy is an excellent candidate to be the first Burn station built so it can start serving local people?
Well, it's so good to see strong Labour MPs standing up for Wales and her constituency. She makes her case. I can't confirm the plans yet, but we will consider recommendations from the Burns Commission, which includes a proposal for a new station in her constituency. I'm delighted, Mr. Speaker, just this week we set out a major road and rail schemes across the country, the A66, Newark Bypass, Midlands Rail Hub, creating tens of thousands of jobs, new homes and better journeys for millions of travellers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the past few weeks, I've spoken to 5 people from my rural constituency of North Devon who have been forced to remove their own teeth with pliers or with amateur surgical kits bought online because they are unable to find an NHS dentist. What would the Prime Minister say to those people, Mr. Speaker? And when will the government banish this dentistry crisis to the history books where it belongs?
Well, Mr. Speaker, another shameful legacy from the party opposite, with 1 in 4 adults struggling with NHS care and tooth decay as the most common reason for hospital admissions for children aged 5 to 9 under their watch. We are fixing this, Mr. Speaker, and I can set out what we're doing. We're rolling out 700,000 urgent and emergency appointments. We're reforming the dental contract and recruiting more dentists, newly qualified dentists, to practice in the NHS for a minimum period. All of that only made possible because of the investment we put in the budget, which they all opposed.
Melanie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Tax evasion, money laundering, illicit goods, illegal work all undermine our high streets like Freeman Street in my own constituency, undermine local business confidence and challenge community cohesion. That's a reality around the country because of the explosion of vape shops, fake barbers, Harry Potter shops, American candy stores. Will the Prime Minister commit to working with his cabinet to bring in a national strategy to tackle the scourges of the high street and restore high street confidence?
Well, she's right to highlight this issue, Mr. Speaker. In March, we saw a major crackdown against criminals using high street businesses to launder money, and with almost 400 properties securing freezing orders over bank accounts totalling more than £1 million and arresting 35 individuals. There's much more to come, and I thank you for highlighting this really important issue.
Sir Ashley Fort.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister was elected on a promise to smash the gangs. He said he would reduce small boat crossings. He said he would close asylum hotels. Why are all these issues going wrong?
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the problem that they said they'd take control of borders and they lost it. We're working hard with our allies. We want to bring forward more powers for our law enforcement of the borders through our Borders Bill to give them the powers they need to take the job and deal with it. And what did they do? They voted against. A confected argument.
Patrick Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow evening sees the annual National Police Bravery Awards. 3 of the officers nominated this year are 3 of the officers who were first on the scene of the tragedy in my Southport constituency last summer. So will the Prime Minister join me in paying tribute to Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, Constable Luke Holden and PCSO Timothy Parry, who are with us in the gallery today, for their immense bravery in the face of evil. And just like our brave officers will always protect and defend us when we need them to. Does he agree with me that this government will always support our brave officers in return?
Well, can I start by saying that the thoughts of the whole House, of course, are with the families of those that lost their little girls and all those affected by this terrible incident. I would like to put on record our heartfelt thanks to all of those who responded and those that are with us today, Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, PC Luke Holden, PCSO Timothy Parry. These officers ran towards danger to protect young lives, Mr. Speaker. I have met a number of them, and it is truly humbling to see the bravery and professionalism that they brought to their job that day and every day. Southport is a wonderful and loving community. In difficult days, they've shown kindness, empathy and courage. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend for all that he has done in relation to those values as well.
Ben Lake.
Mr. Speaker. My constituent, Mr. Brian Buckle, is a victim of a miscarriage of justice. He was wrongfully imprisoned for over 5 years before being exonerated at retrial. Now, Mr. Speaker, despite a jury unanimously finding him not guilty of the crimes for which he was imprisoned and the devastating impact this injustice continues to have on him and his family, his application for compensation was denied due to a 2014 change to the law that requires those who have been wrongfully imprisoned to prove their innocence beyond all reasonable doubt. This is an almost impossible hurdle to overcome. And so would the Prime Minister consider meeting with Mr Buckle to discuss his case and lend his support to appeals campaign for fair compensation for those who have been victims of a miscarriage of justice?
Well, can I thank you for raising this particular case, which saw a grave miscarriage of justice. In relation to the statutory test for compensation, this has been raised in the House before, and I've undertaken to have a look at it. And I know he's working, I think, with the Minister responsible on the particular case that he raises.
Well, let's...
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for leading from the front in promoting the importance of his role as a father in keeping time for family life. I'm delighted that this government in the past week has launched a review into parental leave, and we've started to rebuild the legacy of Sure Start by launching our Best Start Family Hubs, both things that will make a huge difference to my constituents in Ribble Valley. Can you commit to this parental leave review, creating some truly ambitious outcomes so that we can make the UK not only a world-leading place to live and do business, but also the best place in the world to live a rewarding family life?
Well, I think the first full review of parental leave and pay is a landmark moment. The current system is simply out of date and too complicated. 1 in 3 dads don't take paternity leave, often because they can't afford to do so. Mr Speaker, that's a great loss to them and their children. I want parents to be able to give their child the best care and make the system work better for employers.
Final question, Cameron Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Following a week of internal conflict, the Prime Minister should be well prepared if he wants to join me this weekend at the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival, which includes Europe's largest reenactment. Or perhaps next weekend he'll don his leather jacket and turn it up to 11 at the Tewkesbury Live Music Festival, hosted by hospitality venues across the town. Regardless, will he join me in thanking the volunteers and those hospitality venues that make Tewkesbury the unsung nucleus of Gloucestershire's culture?
Mr Speaker, what an invitation. I'm grateful for the invite to join the Medieval Festival, but if I wanted to see a load of people stuck in the past and fighting each other, I'd probably go to the next meeting of the Shadow Cabinet. Thank you.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front bench change over.
That was the penultimate Prime Minister's question time before they go to recess. Kemi Badenoch, the Leader of the Opposition, sticking on the economy, going on the prospect of tax rises. But we are going now straight to Westminster Hall, where our political reporter, Adam Cherry, has been watching Prime Minister's question times from right inside the House of Commons chamber from the gallery. So, Adam, what is your take?
So, obviously, like you said, Gloria, it's all about tax. Kemi Badenoch homing in on tax is, of course, a weak point for the government, given the context of the last few weeks and last week's rebellion on welfare. And she laid a trap at Tom, as Tom Howard, you said in your tweet just a few minutes ago. So Starmer has this habit of giving one-word answers to questions that he can answer really confidently. So the first question, Kemi Badenoch saying, will you stick to your promise not to raise income tax, VAT and national insurance, at least on employees? Yes, one word. Now, he's done that before. So it looked like Kemi anticipated this. It looked a little bit awkward at first, but actually it paid off because she then asked about freezing tax thresholds, which was a promise from Rachel Reeves in the budget. And he couldn't answer that. Neither could he answer the question on a wealth tax, so dodging that question as well. So as often is the case with PMQs, I think it was more revealing what he didn't say rather than what he did. I will just also quickly add that I thought the backbenches, the Labour backbenches, were pretty quiet, at least for the first 15 minutes of that session. They took some warming up and eventually they were back on side. But it was notable in the chamber for the first few questions. They weren't particularly loud or particularly animated, especially compared to previous weeks.
Really interesting stuff there. Thanks indeed, Adam Cherry, for being there inside Parliament for us, getting the inside scoop. Well, in the studio here, just across from Parliament Square, delighted to be joined by the Labour MP for Peterborough, Andrew Pakes, and the Shadow Secretary of State for Science, Alan Mack. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Going to start on the question of tax, because it wasn't just Adam that picked that up. Harry, hello Harry, here's a viewer has written in to say no answer there on the wealth tax. I mean, it looks like the government's scrambling around to see which taxes it could possibly raise.
I think we've got a very serious government, and it was good to see the Chancellor and the Prime Minister on the front bench putting forward the case we've got for investment. You don't expect me, live on air, to make up tax policy on behalf of the government. I will leave that to the Chancellor when the budget comes. But it's been clear we've put forward plans which have got investment for it. They have been difficult choices. No one can deny the economy was in a difficult place when we took over. But getting that long-term investment into the NHS, into the Sure Start centres and the Best Life centres we've got, ensuring we can put up the minimum wage, we've taken responsible tax decisions to get that investment going.
And you were elected on a manifesto that said no tax rises on working people. Do you think that freezing tax thresholds through for further years than was originally planned would be a tax rise on working people?
Look, I want to see responsible tax policy, and I'm not going to make up the Chancellor's position for the budget live on air for you now. But I do know that people want to see the NHS fixed, they want to see more money going into schools, and they want to see us take a responsible...
The only reason I say that is because at the budget in October, Rachel Reeves said these words: "I've come to the conclusion that extending the threshold for the freeze would hurt working people. It would take money out of their payslips. I'm keeping every single promise on tax that I made in the manifesto, so there will be no extension of that freeze." That's what she said in October. Yeah. And yet just minutes ago in the House of Commons, Keir Starmer refused to answer a question on extending that freeze, that so-called fiscal drag, dragging people into higher tax brackets. That's another U-turn in the making.
I think he gave quite a serious answer to a very serious issue about how do we rebuild our economy, having spent so many years looking at it, declining for it. We're going to have a budget in the autumn. We've made some big decisions around tax already. We've got to get that investment coming through.
OK, Alan Mack from the Conservatives. So this is what Keir Starmer said, the Prime Minister said, in response to Kemi Badenoch. 4 interest rate cuts for mortgage holders, and the fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of the year, wages up more in the first 10 months of the Labour government than the 10 years under the Tories. They're doing a good job.
Look, when we left office, we gave Labour the fastest growing economy in the G7. We brought inflation down to the 2% Bank of England target, and things were going well. The reality is, under Labour, taxes have gone up, as Tom has said. Unemployment has gone up every month since Labour came into office, and now they've lost control of the public finances. And we've seen lots of union demands being caved into. We've seen the welfare reforms be an absolute mess. And now they're going to have to raise taxes in the autumn. And you heard the Prime Minister say, couldn't rule out a wealth tax, couldn't rule out unfreezing
What's wrong with the wealth
thresholds.
tax? What's wrong with the wealth tax? So this is for people, it's been talked about, of people with assets, wealth of more than 10 million quid. It's hugely popular. What's wrong with it?
Kemi called out the reason why wealth taxes are bad. So we already have income taxes, but the reality is this means for ordinary working people, Labour's coming after your house,
If
your
you've got
pension,
10
your
million
car.
quid of wealth...
No, Labour haven't actually set out what the criteria are. And the reality is, what we know from the evidence is that Labour hurt working people and working families. They've already imposed the jobs tax. It's their car, pension and house that come in for next.
Are you in favour of a wealth tax, Andrew Pakes?
No, I think tax needs to be a balance. We've already made some tax choices, and the Chancellor will come up with more. But the Prime Minister was absolutely right today about the opposition. They want to claim all of the investment, but they don't want to come up with anything to pay for it. So if you want to, do you want to cut things, Alan, or do you want to put taxes up?
Well, that's not right at all. The reality is Labour are refusing to rule out the wealth tax and freezing the threshold. We are going to see more taxes rise in the autumn, and that's because Rachel Reeves has lost control of the economy and the public finances. We've seen what a huge mess their welfare reforms have been.
Do you think you were wrong when you were an MP to support a government which froze those tax thresholds?
Well, the reality is we took the country through Ukraine war, we took the country through the pandemic, and what Labour have said is that they've broken all their promises. They came to office saying they wouldn't raise council tax. They came to office saying they wouldn't raise employers' national insurance. Now they have done all those things.
Mary actually said on council tax, she agrees with you. Why did the council tax go up when he said it wouldn't? It wasn't in the manifesto, I should make clear, but he has said before the election that it wouldn't go up. Went up every year under your government. It does, doesn't it? Because it's easier to say, oh, it's nothing to do with us, it's local government putting it up.
Look, the reality is Council tax goes up under Labour governments more than it goes up under Conservative governments. Under the last Conservative government, the average change was 3.6%. In England this year, it's 5%. In Wales this year, it's 7%. It's going to go up. The IFS, the independent watchdog, has said it's going to go up even more, probably to the record rates in the last 20 years.
Well, Alan Mack and indeed Andrew Pakes, thanks for now. Do stay with us, though. Much more to come after this short break, including what on earth is the government going to do about the looming doctors' strike? Do stay with us here on GB News.
Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Most places having a fine, bright day today with some summer sunshine, and temperatures are starting to tick up. Another hot spell of weather is on the way, courtesy of this high pressure that's building in across the country. Now, these weather fronts dangling across northern Scotland. Quite a bit of thick cloud here at times, and maybe some drizzly rain possible across Orkney in particular later on. The cloud thick enough for maybe the odd light shower over southwest Scotland. And there's more cloud than yesterday over parts of England and Wales. It's not blue skies all the way, far from it, but most areas dry and bright, and with some sunshine coming through at times. Temperatures getting up into the low 20s quite widely, maybe 27, 28 in and around the London area. It's a bit cooler further north, where we've got the cloud and the patchy outbreaks of rain. But further south, it should be fine. I think we'll see the cloud breaking up even more as we go into this evening. A fine summer's evening for the majority. A bit of mist and low cloud possible around the coasts of the east of Northern Ireland, and some thicker cloud again across the Western Isles of Scotland and the Northern Isles. The patchy rain edging away from Orkney and pushing up towards Shetland during this evening, so turning a bit damp here. As we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. Most places will stay dry. If anything, we'll see the cloud melting away, certainly from many inland areas. Always the possibility of the mist and low cloud returning to some of the coasts, especially around the southwest. And the cloud will thicken once more over the Western Isles of Scotland, with some drizzly rain pushing back in here through the early hours as the breeze picks up. Quite a warm night, temperatures holding up in the teens in most urban areas. On to Thursday, and it will be a hotter day, a sunnier day for most of England and Wales, southern and eastern parts of Scotland. Northern Ireland also probably seeing more sunshine tomorrow. The north coast may be seeing some thicker cloud, and the west coast of Scotland again susceptible to cloud and rain. Quite breezy here as well, but for most it's all about the sunshine and those temperatures rising into the mid-20s, 30 for some.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A major road incident has closed the M9 westbound at Junction 5, with junctions 5 and 6 on slips shut. Plan an alternative route and allow extra travel time. The M4 is closed westbound between Junction 24 Coldra and Junction 28 Tredegar Park due to roadworks, with diversions in place. There's a collision on the A14 westbound between Junction 57 Ipswich East and Junction 56 Ipswich Docks, causing a lane closure. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services are disrupted between Crewe and Manchester Piccadilly. Hull trains are operating a reduced service today. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back to PMQs Live with me, Gloria DiPiero, and Tom Harwood. Loads of questions you've been sending in, and without further ado, we're going to start putting them to Andrew Pakes, Labour MP for Peterborough, and the Chateau Science Secretary, Alan Mack.
Indeed. Maggie from North West Hampshire has written in to say, is Wes Streeting going to cave to the doctors' demands for more money? Now, these doctors have already got a 28% pay rise. Are they really going to get more?
I think we've already seen from Wes and this Labour government a serious attempt to start fixing the NHS. You're absolutely right to talk about the pay increase that all staff across the NHS had. For too long, we saw NHS cuts, we saw staff that weren't respected, we saw real pressure on it. And all of your viewers, like my constituents, will know the problems the NHS has faced. I started my working life as a union official, and I know negotiations matter. So I want to see the doctors back around the table.
But they've just voted for more strikes. You haven't solved it.
It's a negotiation. Get back around the table. Wes has been out this morning. They had up to over 28% last year. They've had the highest pay increase across the public sector this year. There is lots more to work on. It's not just about pay, it's about conditions, it's about shifts, it's about progression. There is a huge amount we can work on, and I think Wes is the man who can get a deal done.
Alan Mack, they've announced the dates of the strike, July the 25th to July the 30th. You had this under your government too. What should the government do? What would you like them to do if you were sitting in Wes Streeting's chair in the Department of Health? How would you resolve it?
Well, on the NHS, we are about to see Streeting's summer of chaos, where doctors are moving from the front line to the picket line. That's completely unacceptable, especially for patients. Last year, as Tom rightly said, the government caved into the unions, gave them over a 20% pay rise. They've now come back for more. The reality is they have failed with their negotiations, as we're seeing with things like Chagos. Well, we would want an affordable settlement that puts patients first. We can't have a situation where the government caves into the unions but asks for nothing in return, no conditions, no productivity improvements and no sensible negotiation. As we've seen on this programme before, when Labour negotiates on Chagos, for example, Britain loses, and this is what's happened to the NHS, and it's patients like Maggie that are going to pay the price. That's unacceptable.
Andrew, it's fair to say that Labour was sort of expecting that this massive pay rise over a couple of years, backdated pay, lots more pay for these doctors, that was supposed to sort of end this. But it's become a bit like when the Vikings invaded England. You know, they'd be given Dane gold, right? And it would make the Vikings go away, and they'd think that's fine, they've gone now. But then they'd come back and demand more gold. I mean, has this theory just completely melted away? Because the massive pay rises that you rightly say that these resident doctors got over the course of the last 2 years, well, that money hasn't made the issue go away.
All of us use the NHS. I don't think I've done a single surgery where someone hasn't turned up to me and said they're frustrated about waiting lists, not being able to see a GP or get a dental appointment. I also get the frustration NHS staff are facing. This is like a tinderbox that this government inherited of the way that staff, doctors, nurse, all the NHS family have been treated over the last decade. So I get the frustration, but the best way to resolve that is work with the government. We're all in this to try and make life better for patients, and I think that's a deal that Wes can get done.
OK, because I want to bring in another question, because we are short on time. Alan Mack from the Conservatives. Question from Stephen. We'll put this to you as well, Labour's Andrew Pakes. I'm sure mainly people agree with me that considering the problems the UK faces right now, it is ridiculous that Parliament has a summer recess from the 22nd of July until the 1st of September. Why? Why is Stephen wrong? Why is recess so long for the summer?
Well, I'll reassure Steve that MPs of all parties, including me and Andrew, will be working hard in our constituencies, public meetings, surgeries, visits to schools and businesses. So the work continues, Steve, and rest assured that on the Conservative side, we're going to continue holding Labour to account, particularly for Streeting's summer of chaos on the NHS that Maggie mentioned.
Andrew Pakes, is summer recess too long? Can you afford to take all that time away from Parliament?
Do you know, the best bit of my job is being able to get out there in the community, doing surgeries, knocking on doors. I'm sure Alan and people from other parties do. I've got a whole summer working where I'm going to be meeting people, visiting businesses, going to churches and mosques, seeing all sorts of bits of the city. I think it's the hardest bit of the job, but it's the best bit of the job. Let's have more politics in our community and a bit less in London.
Although this is the time in London is when you can actually pass laws. This will be a long time where there is no debate in the House of Commons, where, yes, you're meeting people in your constituencies, but not doing that lawmaking that you're elected to do.
I think ministers will not be surprised to know that I will still be writing letters to departments and I will still be advocating on behalf of my constituents. There's lots we can fix and lots we can get done, not just being on the green benches, but actually being out on the streets in our constituencies.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I'll be working every single day. I know parties across the House will also have their MPs working hard.
You are allowed to take holiday. You are allowed to take annual leave. I think the suggestion from Stephen is they think you're off for 5 weeks with a pina colada.
We have a bank holiday.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Thank you indeed, Alan Mack, Andrew Pakes, for talking through a whole host of issues there. And thank you, everyone watching at home, for sending in your questions as well. We'll be back, of course, next week for Prime Minister's Questions, the final one before that long holiday that all MPs go with their pina colada, simply sitting on a beach and not doing any work at all.
So we want the best, most cracking questions in next week. Start thinking of them now, because we're 5 weeks without putting questions to our panel. Thank you for being with us. Up next is Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Most places having a fine, bright day today with some summer sunshine and temperatures are starting to tick up. Another hot spell of weather is on the way, courtesy of this high pressure that's building in across the country. Now, these weather fronts dangling across northern Scotland. Quite a bit of thick cloud here at times, and maybe some drizzly rain possible across Orkney in particular later on. The cloud thick enough for maybe the odd light shower over southwest Scotland. And there's more cloud than yesterday over parts of England and Wales. It's not blue skies all the way, far from it, but most areas dry and bright, and with some sunshine coming through at times. Temperatures getting up into the low 20s quite widely, maybe 27, 28 in and around the London area. It's a bit cooler further north, where we've got the cloud and the patchy outbreaks of rain. But further south, it should be fine. I think we'll see the cloud breaking up even more as we go into this evening. A fine summer's evening for the majority. A bit of mist and low cloud possible around the coasts of the east of Northern Ireland, and some thicker cloud again across the Western Isles of Scotland and the Northern Isles. The patchy rain edging away from Orkney and pushing up towards Shetland during this evening, so turning a bit damp here. As we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. Most places will stay dry. If anything, we'll see the cloud melting away, certainly from many inland areas. Always the possibility of the mist and low cloud returning to some of the coasts, especially around the southwest. And the cloud will thicken once more over the Western Isles of Scotland, with some drizzly rain pushing back in here through the early hours as the breeze picks up. Quite a warm night, temperatures holding up in the teens in most urban areas. On to Thursday, and it will be a hotter day, a sunnier day for most of England and Wales, southern and eastern parts of Scotland. Northern Ireland also probably seeing more sunshine tomorrow. The north coast may be seeing some thicker cloud, and the west coast of Scotland again susceptible to cloud and rain. Quite breezy here as well, but for most it's all about the sunshine and those temperatures rising into the mid-20s, 30 for some.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Well, how about meeting the new ABBA? It's what a lot of people are calling Dad Harmony. It's a new Swedish a cappella group that are the biggest TikTok sensation you can imagine. They are everywhere at the moment, and they join us now. Really good to see you all. With us, we have this morning Thomas, Michael, Sebastian, Peter and Adam. Not necessarily in that order, but I know. There we go. Gents, it's really good to see you. I've got to ask, first and foremost, how did you get started? How do you even get together and think, this is something we can do?
Yeah, it's actually all of a coincidence, to be honest. It was, we were friends, but we were Peter had a bachelor party. And like 10 p.m. or something, we started to sing. And I recorded that song. And for some reason, I put it out on my TikTok account with like 7 followers or something. And then it blew up and got like, the first video got 22 million views, I think.
Beautiful.
Just
really
gorgeous.
beautiful.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 9th of July. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Well, the French President, Monsieur Macron, blames Sir Keir Starmer for the illegal migration crisis, suggesting we make it far too easy for those crossing the channel to work illegally and receive benefits. Has he got a point? Are pull factors to blame?
Well, we've got a great day in the channel today, weather-wise, but funny enough, there are no small boats crossing. I wonder why.
Our two nations share not only values, but also the tireless determination to act on them in the world.
Oui, oui, it's the second day of the